Now, after the situation with iilluminaughtii and Legal Eagle, things have gotten even worse. Former friends of hers coming out and actually talking about their experiences working with Blair and how Blair completely mistreated all of them. These former friends of hers being the YouTubers Oz Media, Hi, I'm Wonder, and The Click. Oz Media being a Reddit YouTuber, with The Wonder being both, I would say, a mixture of a Reddit YouTuber and kind of like a Twitter commentary YouTuber, and The Click being a kind of a mixture of a Reddit YouTuber as well as like a general commentary YouTuber talking about things like, cringe you find on TikTok, etc. Everyone involved in this situation used to work on a collaborative channel by the name of Sad Milk, which unfortunately seems as though it's ended a while ago, but it was actually revealed today on Twitter the horrible experiences the members of Sad Milk had to go through in regards to dealing with Blair. First thread we're going to be reading is the one from Click, where he says, "Hey peeps, I've seen the recent drama in regards to iilluminaughtii, and I'd like to clarify that I am not affiliated with her and I haven't been for over 2 years. I left her and the collaboration group Sad Milk due to similar behavior as seen in the recent events. Lashing out at friends and fans, paranoia, and general poor anger management, to name a few. Eventually, I believe pretty much the whole group left her. The last meeting I ever had with her, she spent half an hour, I think, hard to know, screaming at me for an array of random things, calling me a bad friend, lazy, and a bunch of random accusations that really didn't have anything to do with me. There's no way you can have the resume you claim and be this fucking stupid," and so on. No one even raised their voice back at her. I left along with several members, half the group at the time. She had spent the next few months spreading lies and half-truths about us on the Sad Milk Reddit page and vague posts on Twitter. I still have all the screenshots. She would turn friends against you, or specifically team up with people she knew didn't like you just so she had allies against you, rallying mainly banned problematic community members known to be liars and conflict seekers. People began to question that maybe she was the reason everyone left. There was a very convenient updating of 11 to 14-year-old videos of me, stuff I made back when I started my channel in 2009, when I was a teenager, and as you can probably guess, some of those jokes from that time age like milk. I publicly owned up to my past mistakes and apologized, doing my best to be transparent and honest about my past. He would still harp on it, ignoring the fact that it had already been addressed, trying to direct as much attention to it as possible, publicly stating that it was a bad apology, along with vague posting about it in comments on the collaboration channel. Maybe in an attempt to get people to assume I had been kicked out for poor behavior rather than leave because of her own behavior. She, assuming it was her as she had channel access, also liked to pull what I can only describe as very petty acts of revenge. For example, some people left comments on the collaboration channel saying good that Click left. They obviously got ratioed hard as people were there for the creators. She would manually go in and delete the ratioing comments but leave the original hate comment. I tried to gain control of my Discord when it surpassed hers in size by tossing around accusations at staff and trying to get rid of my team and replacing it with hers, giving me the ultimatum to fire my entire senior team or be publicly fired from Sad Milk myself. I was still a YouTube freshie at the time, and she was quite intimidating, claiming connections and clout, reputation and powerful friends, so everyone stayed mostly silent and had to constantly look over our shoulders for the next year. None of us even mentioning the whole thing. We were even worried talking in our own Discords as it became apparent that she had spies within our moderation ranks. We were just hoping we wouldn't have our reputations completely destroyed for simply just walking away. This is a brief summary of events, and it's sad to see that she hasn't changed. Now, the second thread that we're going to be reading is from Wonder, who says, "Forgive me for this being so scattered, emotions and all, gotta love him. A Sad Milk thread. After being threatened with a breach for speaking out, I can confirm that the behavior Blair exhibits is extremely accurate here. I'm aware of the bridges I've burned, and I remain where I am. After Sad Milk split, it was a constant negative echo chamber that I took part in. Regardless, I used to edit for Sad Milk. Blair made no effort to take direction. She made everything about herself. Sad Milk at the time was the nearest thing to family I had, which sounds pathetic, but the content creator space is a very isolating one. Many hours I would spend online making drafts, editor tutorials for new hires, staying up to try to get some editing in if the editors were short-handed. I missed Christmas with my brother and father, fixating the mistake of the editor that she hired, and I didn't even get a thank you. And it took me more than half a month to even get paid. Meanwhile, she delays payments to editors so she can purchase expensive clothes, visit BMW dealerships, and spend hundreds on food in a day. While I do hold my beliefs on certain matters, every month or so, there was a new villain of the week, and they would one second be a normal person in our lives, and the next second, suddenly a hidden monster, though, you guessed it, Blair's mouth. To say Sad Milk split on creative differences is a joke. It's a flat out lie. Again, I'm aware of the bridges I've burned, but I can confirm that call took place where she screamed, cursed, and had a meltdown towards not Click and one topic at a time. It was a train wreck. It was supposed to be a fun group project and we had become profitable, even to a small extent. Blair wanted creative lead, and we went from doing fun creative topics more in line with the Reddit we would cover from our own channels to doing unenthusiastic view content. Blair took control and wouldn't listen to how videos should be made, and so we got hyper loud music with childlike sprites paired with adult humor, which made just being a part of Sad Milk humiliating. My friends and I would actually watch Sad Milk and laugh, but not at the content, but instead of how awful it had become, not due to anyone being entertaining, but the lack of quality control. It is an editorial nightmare. It's why, in part, I stopped editing because my really well-made content got roped into that by proxy. Blair did not care. It was hers, and anyone who tried to dare and take the reins was a threat. After Click, OT, and Salty left, I did almost all of the heavy lifting, which is a thankless job for being small on the internet. Tried making us schedules. I motivated Blair during another mental breakdown of hers to not delete the channel or the Discord, since I actively read through the comments on both, and we had people who we mattered to. After months of behind-the-scenes insults toward Click and OT, it became so stale and negative. Yeah, we all took part, but after it going on so long, it just became a day after day where Blair would sit and check Click and OT's social blade. She would make fake accounts to stalk them. Not just them, but a large part of the commentary community. I've personally seen her try to get her lawyer to shut down anyone who says anything against her, and they ruined her day by saying, "Yeah, we can't really do anything." It's insane. It's insane. Innocent people don't work so hard to try and silence others. We would get no work done. I can't count how many times I pleaded and set up meetings for us to do something, and nobody cared. I thought I had a friend who was hurting. Then I saw I had moved to villain. And like everyone else, I got shut out, trash talked, and the people that I had made efforts to be friends with wouldn't even acknowledge my existence. For me though, I had already moved states under good faith. I was bettering my life. In 30 days of living with Blair, it was a nightmare. I felt like I was trapped in her home always. She makes everyone her enemy. She called Wonder, checking in to see if I'm okay. An invasion of privacy. I sent her numerous messages trying to show I just wanted to be her friend. She lives like an actual monster. Her home is a mess, like Hoarder's bad. Constant subtweets about me on Twitter and ignoring me, and if I dare say anything back, her Discord manager would happily remind me of my contract. This is disgusting. So my therapist, who she accuses me of stealing because she recommended, suggested that I leave the house at all costs, and I did. In the details I can't get into further due to legalities, but I ended up with no car, hardly any clothes, and money to my name, and no home. Now working full time again, I had no time for my channel that I had cried, bled, and worked through hell to get up. So I watched it die, since my main concern now was just to put food on my table. All because I had made friends with one of the most vile people on the platform. Nobody wanted to talk with me, and I was too afraid to fully go public as I didn't know the reach this massive creator had. I had everything IRL and online taken from me. She personally threw my YouTube play button in the trash. If that isn't symbolic, man, then I don't know what is. I have spent the last 2 years of my life rebuilding from the ground up due to this woman. The only difference is that I get to come back stronger as a person. She doesn't. She can't take that away from everyone she has screwed over. Blair, you can't hide anymore. Sooner or later, you were going to push away everybody who cared about you, and you'd realize that the world isn't actually out to get you, but you made your fears a reality. All on your own. I'm not afraid of you. You don't get that from me anymore. Never again. I apologize for how long this thread is. I understand this place probably isn't the best place to do it, but I'm so sick of knowing all this information and never being able to say anything. Have a good day and be well, everyone. Now the final thread from Oz Media saying, I think it's time that I actually speak out on the current Twitter threads regarding Sad Milk in 2020 to 2021. I cannot express how scared I am to do this, the fear I have in my gut to even speak out, but I feel like it's important to say my piece on this subject matter. It's a mess, but the tweet threads posted by Wonder and Click and what they have said about Sad Milk is the truth. I will be adding those threads below. The whole project was a mess, from start to finish. I really wish I didn't need to do this, but with the flurry of DMs I've been getting, I don't have a choice but to speak out. Blair, I'm sorry, but you have hurt me. I need to speak without being told by you, oh, I'm just a villain? I'm always in the wrong? Or something along those lines. Words I have heard from you constantly. I want to be heard from once. I need to clear my mind and conscience after holding this in for 2 years. Forgive me, but it's what needs to be done. When looking at the whole of the project, it was mostly ran and controlled by Blair. The main worry was that because of her, in her words, lack of personality, she felt as though her contribution to Sad Milk needed to be in the managerial bureaucracy behind the scenes to justify her presence. This led to a defensive approach when anyone would attempt to assist with the nitty-gritty behind the scenes, despite her claiming that no one wanted to help her, one of the factors that she claimed to be the final nail in the coffin of Sad Milk. Blair was indeed the aggressor. She always has been. As an example of this behavior, look at the Legal Eagle situation. Blair has the habit of starting fights but will almost never publicly apologize if proven wrong. She will instead hide behind a private apology probably, and from my perspective, act as though this makes everything better. After all, she would express to me that admitting error would only make her look stupid and weak. This will be followed by blocking people on Twitter, silencing her detractors through YouTube channel bans, deleting comments, and putting her accounts on the download to prevent interaction. For example, on Sad Milk, she would blacklist former collaborators from being mentioned, but manually approved hateful comments towards them, which in my opinion were specifically ones which instead praised her or the remaining members, including me. This is her MO. It has been for the last 4 years that I've known her. It actually perfectly ties into how we first met and began to be on speaking terms in April of 2019. Sad Milk was very much like this. At the first sign of dissonance, her response was to have me confront OT and Click with this list of talking points in an attempt to show them just how wrong they were, which I accepted. This brings me to, well, me. Missing from both Click and Wonder's threads is the fact that I actually acted as a frontrunner for Blair. Anything Blair needed to be said would actually go through me first, essentially act as a spokesman. This was actually very common in our relationship. I would act as a filter to keep her out of drama or from saying things which should be seen as offensive or kindle for a larger fire. I stopped doing this in January. This does not excuse me from protecting her for this long, but it is the truth. I could take the approach and say I was manipulated, which, perhaps I was, but I still knew what I was doing was wrong. I always did, and it always hurt. It left a huge black mark on my spirit and my ability to feel comfortable in my own skin. I moved to Colorado, got a house, and lived with her at the time. She was in my life every day, and I would hear these theories and villainous explanations toward anyone who had wronged her. It was hard to avoid, let alone not fall for them, and I believed it was my responsibility to protect my friend from something that, in my view, was clearly hurting her, something that I felt was eating at her and making her daily life worse. Things which, in hindsight, could have been solved with a conversation, but she was unwilling. Instead, the conspiring, backstabbing, and rumor machine were put into full swing. I, much as Wonder and Salty, were forced by Blair to choose between her or Click and OT. Of course, I chose the person that I had lived with. What was I gonna do? Move again? I mean, I could have. Once I chose my side, I was met with praise and adoration from her and her mod staff. It, at the time, felt like I was making the right decision. Fuck man, boy was I wrong. I've lost so many friends, isolated myself, been at her side despite feeling like my connections to the world were being severed. I always acted as her talking piece, from yelling at one topic to berating Click and other things I did in service of somebody who, at the time, I believed every word of. I trusted Blair to hell and back and thought I was doing good. I have learned since then, through both self-reflection and conversations with old friends, just how much I was unintentionally, hopefully, used. Of course is more. Much, much more. More than I could ever hope to cram into this stupid fucking Twitter thread that I know I'm going to get angry DMs and phone calls over. Blair, I need you to know that you hurt me, more than you realize. I know you're scanning this and having your team read over it, maybe even looking to send me a legal threat as you parade around to do so, but I want you to apologize for once in your life and take accountability. Please, Blair, you would rather paint the world red than admit you have fault. Now this concludes the end of all the Twitter threads and everything that everyone had to say involved in the situation, but besides Blair herself. And I do want to emphasize that, again, these are genuinely just allegations. There is obviously going to be two sides to every story, and so personally, I'm not really going to be taking an opinion on this until Blair actually speaks about this, if she speaks about this. But nonetheless, I still hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys all again next time. Peace.